Joining us here today, this morning. We have the pleasure of welcoming Miss Rossana Orlandi, Istituto Marangoni alumna, to share her vision and project in terms of the creative plastic recycling in the Guiltless Plastic project. And this is part of our long-term commitment to inspire students, and also in terms of design and environmental design. So this special edition of In Conversation With will be led by Marcus Fairs, the editor-in-chief of Dezeen, and this discussion today will focus on the Guiltless Plastic project, of which Istituto Marangoni is the educational partner. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mevin, like Kevin. Before you go, Rossana was just saying to me, I don't know him, I never met him. So maybe you should shake hands and introduce each other.
You were busy with interviews. Pleasure to meet you, thank you.
So Mevin, also, why don't you briefly explain who you are and what you do and what this amazing institution is?
Well, Istituto Marangoni is 85 years old, and we started as an institution training people for the industry, and it started really with fashion, but now we also teach fashion design, fashion business, luxury brand management, and we have campuses all around the world. We have 3 campuses in Milan, 1 in Florence, 1 in Paris, London. We just celebrated our 15 years, and I was actually in the Shanghai campus last year, where I spent a year, and then we opened the year before a campus in Mumbai. And we opened also in Miami 2 years ago. So this is what we do. And our teachers are mainly practitioners. So we have a special way of approaching education in terms of our teachers are consultants. They have their own businesses, and they come and teach on the side and share their experience with students every day. We have about 700 in the London campus.
Rossana, use your microphone. Microphone. We have an audience. Is it switched on? So you have 700 students here in London, and it's mostly been fashion courses, right? But you now have a design course, hence the connection with Rossana's Guiltless Plastic.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. We have a design school in Milan. Mark Anderson is the Director of Education of the Milan campus here, in collaboration with Capellini. And I think you are leading the discussion tomorrow at the Saatchi Gallery. So please join us for this as well. So enough about me. I'll leave it to you. Yes?
Thank you, Mevin, like Kevin.
Bye-bye.
Pronto?
I've never turned up at a talk and see the audience already sitting there half an hour before, and I assumed it was because this was like the hot talk of the week and you were all desperate to get a seat, but apparently you all thought you were starting at 10, right? Sorry for the long wait. Okay, this is Rossana Orlandi, as I'm sure you know. When we were chatting beforehand, I said to Rossana, how should I introduce you? What word or phrase would you use to describe yourself? And she said, gallerist full of energy. And then she said, but very shy. So this is the very shy gallerist full of energy, Rossana Orlandi. And this talk is to discuss Guiltless Plastic, which is an initiative Rossana launched last year. Some of the exhibition that was in Milan in April is at the back of the room here. But without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Rossana to give a short presentation about the Guiltless Plastic initiative, what happened this year, what's going to happen in the second year of the initiative. Then we'll have a conversation, and at the end there will be time for questions from the audience. So, Rossana, over to you.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you to be here. I just want to say one word. I have been one of the students in Istituto Marangoni just a few years ago when I was 18 years old. And it's such a pleasure to be back. At that time there was no design, but congratulations, Istituto Marangoni. Big energy and great success. All my best compliments. Now, here, okay, how I started this project. First of all, I was 3 years ago on the beach in November in Sardinia, and with my nephew, we went on a beach, and it was amazing what we find. So full of plastic. The first impression was really oh my God. Then when we start to look carefully, we saw so many interesting pieces that we start to build, to do an installation, and we succeed to do really beautiful installation. And I said, why not to do something? Because I think that creative people can transform this horrible visione in something useful. Then I went to Eindhoven, and I find this fantastic message. High designer help us to turn this scrap into valuable things. And it was precious plastic. You can see, yes, better than I see here. So I said, why not? Why not to involve the design world in this big, huge mission? We can do a lot, and all together, definitely, we'll find the way to resolve it. It's a big word, but to change all this waste that is killing us. I have to do what I do. I'm not very technical.
Tech team, can we get some new batteries? Oh, there we are. Shall I do it for you?
Okay, thank you.
It's that one there on the right.
Yeah. So in 2018, I started with... Che nel 19? No, that's wrong. Anyway, in 2 years ago, I started with guilty feelings, because I feel very guilty of what happens in the world. So we organized this during Salone del Mobile. I involved several peoples, and we show, what I wanted to say is really how people look what we are missing. So we show beautiful landscape, beautiful images, and we showing the other way what we were doing. Very impressive. At that time, I find, come si chiama l'americano? Le fotografie. Chris Jordan. At that time, I had the pleasure to talk with Chris Jordan. He did the beautiful movie about albatross, very impressive. So already when I started to work about guiltless plastic, after that I said, okay, we know what we are doing, what we are destroying, what shall we do? So I created Guiltless Plastic. About guiltless plastic, there have been several problems at the beginning, because people start to say, in particular Chris Jordan, plastic is not guiltless. But from my point of view, plastic by itself is not guilty. It's the misuse and the abuse of plastic. As well, I think that when people say plastic-free, for me, it's totally a fake news, because we are surrounded by plastic. From the electrician, this plastic, of course. So what is the goal of guiltless plastic? It's really to make people more conscious of what we have to do with plastic. For sure, disposable, it's to forget. If the government doesn't help us, we can not buy. So personally, I think that we have to do a lot and to learn how to use the plastic, where la raccolta differenziata, you can explain, to put in the right disposable, because plastic is recyclable, and it's very, very important recyclable if it's possible, because we have so much plastic. Why to do new plastic? Recycle plastic. Can you go on? Yeah, okay. These are the sponsor of last year. Oh. But we can go on. Yeah, last year we did a raw plastic prize. I started very late in December, and we did 4 prizes. Design, home, sponsored by me, home textile by Econil, packaging solution by Bichester Village, something else. But this prize hasn't been done because no one of the project was good. And conscious innovative project sponsored by ILI. That's interesting because organization, association who has got a good project, it's very important to help. The price is 10,000 euros each. This year we go on with the raw plastic price, of course, and I did some changement. For example, design, it becomes industrial design, because our purpose is to increase the reuse of plastic. With a design, I receive beautiful pieces, but not many which were beautiful but not useful for the production. Our purpose is really to reuse in bigger quantities plastic. Home textile, we change and we called innovative textile because, no, okay. Innovative, okay. Can I go free without to follow too much your images?
Yeah, sure. I think that they're changing the images from the back, but
yeah.
Is that right? Are you changing the... Okay, so if you want to change the image, just shout to the guy at the back there. What's your name? Andy? Alex. Okay. Just shout, Alex, next picture, please, and it'll change automatically. I don't think this doesn't seem to work.
It doesn't work.
It's okay, we'll just get Andy to do it at the back.
Does it work now?
Or Alex. Alex, sorry.
Alex, who is Alex? Ciao, Alex, it doesn't work. Okay, so now go back.
Okay, we've got a solution, everybody.
We're fine. We are too technical, love. Okay, so I was speaking about the price and where I was. Yeah. Okay, I start again because I've got another images. Anyway, I spoke about the 4 prices we did. Now I was on textile, and they said that this year we changed the textile. It's not a home textile, but is innovative. Thank you. Anyway, so I was saying that textile, we change. And we did innovative textile because I think that textile problem is, I think, bigger than plastic. So why not to study and to give the possibilities of new way to do textile with maybe less a problem of a solution. So I am open. The price will be open for any kind of new solution of textile. I've seen amazing project, so that will be the new textile. Then, no, vai sulla foto, no, vai sulla, okay. Last year we have got not many projects, almost 390, but from 50 countries in the world. So that has been really a very good success. This year, raw plastic price for the 2020 will be, as I said, industrial design, innovative textile, packaging solution, which we launched last year, but we didn't give the price because nothing was good, as I said. conscious, innovative project, okay. You know, we receive a very interesting projects. And we had a new one, awareness on communication, because I think that it's time to change the way of communication. Guilty communication, it's over. I think that we are not anymore interested to see birds, see beaches, plastic all over, but we want to work behind. We want to show what we can do in a very positive and active way, because our purpose is to reuse plastic before it gets into the rivers. We don't want plastic anymore arrives into the ocean. That is our purpose, so the communication should be about this, but full of energy, to show how beautiful can be the pieces recycled. And particularly, I think that children are the most interested in this. We can give message to the children, a positive message, not negative. I want really to be positive, and to teach them what to do, not only what they can do, how can they think to recycle. If you put a bottle in the good way, in the right way, you will get a bag after. Why not? This has been one corto who has done Ulm. Last year we presented Ulm last year, but we can do a lot, but positive and energy. Then we can go on. For the 2020, last year we did the master, because I want to show to people. In the master, I involved 20 designer, architect, artists to experiment for the first time their ability in realize a recycled piece, a recycled plastic piece, and it's been very interesting. And why did this? Because when I start to speak about recycled plastic, the normal people said, oh, recycled plastic is shabby and bad smelling. So with the master, I want to show how many possibilities there are in recycle and how amazing pieces you can realize. Here we see, for example, Patricia Arquiola. She made this fantastic chair, totally recyclable. The fabrics, the structure, and very comfortable. Here we see Massimiliano Locatelli. He just create a small machine, a very easy machine, cut all the bottles and reuse all the pieces. You can sit down, and that's a good idea, because a recycle can be thinking in a different way. On the left, we have a studio. Okay, somebody. And if you look like marble. Nobody can believe it's recycled plastic. Studio Nucleo. Then we see the beautiful table. Sorry, but it's not so simple. This is the beauty table by Brody Nail, entirely done by recycled plastic with small pieces taken on the beach. The carpet is Haimayon, realized by Bonotto, with all 100% recycled fabrics. Here we see Cinzano Marone. This is recycled plastic. At the top is a very old piece of incredible wood. Here is Adami with this piece you don't see, but it's super interesting. Inside there are pieces of plastic put into a foam and cutted. This is an old piece. Nacho Carbonell, he used all the plastic bags. Here there is the Piero Lissoni. First time he did work with a totally first time, and is crazy in love with recycled plastic. This is Mendini. one of the last pieces he has done before, unfortunately, to buy. Here, studio job, Ciao Sandro Mendini, and he just reused a pot of plastic. Here you can see, but is Chris Jordan pictures. I did fabulous pictures. He did a collage. One should be Mondrian, no, should be... no, sono due quadri questi. Uno è di Van Gogh, and he did Cero and Van Gogh, and it's very interesting because you can see on my sito anyway, he put a big lighter, and the explication is super cool. It's the number 150,000 big lighter. It's what you find every... no, not every day. Every day in... okay, read it, and it needs really to be seen. It's quite shocking. Okay, this was last year. For the 2020, we do another project which is called Transformation Village with Aldo Cibic, the curator, our direction, will build a village totally done with recycled material. Plastic will be, of course, the main item, but we will use even waste, the construction waste, every kind of waste which is usable in the houses. Quite in 15 days we can say more about this project. Then, can we go on? Okay, I already said the 50 countries. Okay, just words, and I would like to talk about these words all together because I think that your opinion is very important. What I forgot to tell you that we did as well, we are doing as well a platform where we want this is a project where I need the help of everybody because it's important to be all together. There are so many knowledges, so many possibilities that as much as we connected each other, more we can obtain. And there will be this platform where we'll want to put in connection. Our purpose is to put in connection designer, makers, a transformer, school, searcher, everybody, because there is not much knowledge and consciousness about this problem. And trust me, the design can do really not a lot, can do more than a lot. Please think about and try to know as much as you can and to think what to do. For me, it's over the time just to design a good piece. But when you design, you have really to think what's happened of this piece. You have to think about the waste. You have to think how long it will go on. And think really to reuse material because we have too much waste. And we have to reduce the waste. Our dream will be finish waste. Everything can be recyclable in different ways. Stop it.
Thank you, Rossana. Could we put the first image up, the one that said designers turn the trash into precious plastic, the precious plastic image? Alex? Or in the front? Could you go back to the first image, the first image that Rossana showed? That one, that's it, right. Okay, I wanted to ask you, Rossana, because this notice is from Dave Hackens, right? Dave Hackens is the Dutch designer who runs an initiative called Precious Plastic. this was the thing that gave you the inspiration for your initiative. Now, Dave Hackens, he takes waste plastic that they find on beaches, from people's waste bins and stuff like that, and he chops it up into little bits, and he makes new products from it. But as a gallerist in Milan, who sells a lot of very expensive, beautiful objects to people with a lot of money, do people really think that plastic is precious? I mean, the whole plastic crisis is because plastic is cheap. We use it once and we throw it away. In your view, do people really perceive plastic as being something that's precious, or is it possible to make it something precious?
Well, I brought some of the pieces of the prize in my gallery in Sardinia, and I should say that I sold almost everything, because it depends by what you do. There was, for example, let's see between, if we go on in the price, there were good images. Stop it, go just back. This, it's an installation by Arsenio, an incredible Spanish, who reuse a bottle, every kind of things. And this exhibition is going all the world because it's such a beautiful aquarium that it goes all around. In bigger galleries and in bigger exposition, and everybody is mad of this. This is a certain way to reuse. It's an installation. Then if you go, this was the presentation of the prize. But for example, you see that vase, which is this one. This vase, we sold straight away because people loved. Collectionists loved that piece because it was fantastic. And they found a value. This, I should say, can be a piece of art. And I sold other pieces which are not here. But of course, it's saleable. It depends by what they've done. For example, the piece of Job, Studio Job, it's a piece of art, and that was a reuse. But other pieces, it depends by what you do. You have to do, if you want to be a piece of art, you have to work on another concept. If you want to be a piece put into production, for example, the chair, it wins the prize, is here, that's it. It's an amazing piece, and everybody in the jury decided that was the winner, because it's done not only beautiful, but the concept was very interesting. Everything is recyclable, 100%, and the packaging was very good. And with the waste, he did as well the other pieces, which are the shell book, a beautiful lamp, which I don't see in the picture. And that it will be put in production by Capellini, and I hope it will be ready for next Salone del Mobile. That's important.
And this chair here was...
the 2 point, art or production.
Yeah, okay, so you've answered the question about can plastic be precious, and you said yes, the recycled plastic objects that you're selling have been sold. And this is the other thread to it. So this chair behind us here won the prize for the best recycled plastic product. And I was on the jury for that. And I must admit, it was like a really tough decision to choose a winner. The reason this chair won was because, I mean, most plastics, when they're recycled, they lose some of the integrity and the performance. So therefore, you can't do as much engineering or long-lasting or clever stuff with it. But this chair came up with a way of, it's engineered in a way that makes the most of the plastic, and that was why it won. The other product that nearly won was these external roof tiles, wall tiles, that were made of plastic. Do you remember? And the reason that didn't win was because one of the jury phoned a friend in the European laboratory that certifies products for fire resistance and said that at the moment those tiles don't pass the fire regulations. There's a possibility that they could do in the future.
They did.
So my point is that plastic, yes, you can recycle it, but there are limits to what you can do with it. You can turn it into a piece of art, you can turn it into an interesting chair, but part of the problem with plastic is the second time you use it, it's not as good as the first time. The third time you use it, it's not as good as the second time, and so on and so forth.
You give new life. It depends. Because the more you use, of course, they lose their characteristic. But anyway, the problem is to give new life. Don't throw away. We have really to avoid waste. And waste now is value. Because if we use, reuse, and the last thing you can use is in nell'edilizia. You can do brick. For example, the last life, but no waste.
And you said at the beginning that plastic-free is fake news. Do you really believe that? So you think that the problem is not plastic itself, the problem is that people use plastic and throw it away and that it ends up in the oceans?
Absolutely. Because it's our way. It's really the misuse, the no cura we have, and we throw, we don't mind. And that we have to avoid, absolutely to avoid.
But how will this initiative help stop that? Because there's a limit to how much plastic can be used to make chairs and beautiful objects. Is the initiative designed, is your intention to encourage everyone to clean up the beach and make a chair from it? Or is it to raise awareness and make people think about the plastic problem?
Well, I think that to clean the beach, definitely we have to do. But with the Guiltless Plastic, I would like to, my purpose is to work behind, to work in the way one step before. My suggeritrice is really avoid plastic go into the rivers. I speak of water, I don't speak of sea. We can't absolutely to send any more waste plastic into the ocean. It's a nonsense. We are vehemently against it to do this. Guilty feeling, it's in our way to do things. Stop it. Don't throw away anymore. Put in the right place. It can be recycled, it can be burned, it can do a lot of things, but don't throw into the water. And don't forget, we use to buy, to lose, to throw, to buy another one. It's change. It's time to change. The society has to change the way of do. It's up to us, and not only to design, it's up to every single person. And we have to to communicate this. We have to really, even if it's not in the world of design, but what are you doing? If I see somebody throw something, I go and I say, oh, sorry, you lost it, and I give back.
When we talk about plastic, we're generally talking about plastic made from fossil fuels. It's processed from oil, natural gas, sometimes coal as well, which is dug out of the ground. It's actually often a byproduct of gasoline and diesel and aviation fuel and other kinds of petrochemicals. What do you think about the approach of saying we need to develop new types of plastic that are made from biomaterials like algae or cornstarch?
Yes, absolutely. Now, the present is plastic, but the future will be for sure a new material. We need to have time to develop, and what we have to do now is to be present. Up to date, we have to recycle what we have, but for sure, new material will come out, biodegradable, with algae, with everything. I work in the present. But the future will be for sure that.
And for your prize, is it the people who enter, do they have to be working with fossil fuel plastic, or can they be working with new types of plastic?
For the textile, for sure, with a new plastic, because the textile is far too interesting. I've been, for example, in a Luma laboratorio, and I saw so amazing new products they are developing. Just I say Luma because I've been there, but there are many other people doing. So for the textile, absolutely, we are open. In the trash formation village, for sure, we are open to other kinds of things. For design, we are still on our purpose, recycle plastic.
In some ways,
and packaging is open.
In some ways, the world of design that we inhabit with chairs and tables and roof tiles, that is already more sustainable than other industries, because a chair, you keep it for a long time. You keep it for 5, 10, 20, maybe even 50 years. It's the other industries that are a bigger problem, isn't it? Like fashion, for example, which has got into the habit of making disposable clothes that you wear once and throw away. What about other industries beyond design? How do you think we can tackle plastic pollution in those? Because you can't keep a pair of shoes for 20 years because they'll fall apart or they'll go out of fashion.
Sì. Sì. Cosa bisogna fare nel design che non sia fast? Sorry, I haven't understood your question, even if she translates.
The question is that, in a way, if you're designing a chair or a table using recycled plastic, you have an advantage, because the best thing you can do with materials is make something from them that lasts for a very, very long time, so you don't need to recycle it.
Yeah.
So if we make a chair, hopefully it never gets to the point where it's recycled, because the chair lasts for 50 years. The problem is in other industries where the products have a short lifespan. So fashion, for example, also disposable plastics like water bottles, which is a sort of different, fast-moving consumer goods industrial part of the economy.
So, disposal, we said, forget about. We have not.
What should we do? Let me rephrase the question. What should we do? Actually, these are glass, so this is okay.
Yeah.
But what should we do about plastic water bottles, for example?
Put it the right way, and it will be recycled.
So it's okay to keep using plastic water bottles as long as they're recycled and turned into something
course.
else.
The bottle, for example, bottle plastic has got why bottle plastic? Because it's much easier in the transport, because you reduce the pollution in the transport. Is less dangerous to have a bottle plastic than a glass plastic, because it can break. So, and the plastic, the bottle, they are 100% recyclable and recyclable. So it's just use plastic, but put in the right way. And you can, today I haven't got, but normally I've got a recycled done jacket, which is made with PL from a bottle. So why not? Just don't throw, you say, millions of bottles around. But, and in the future will be done with a biodegradable material. Up to now it's not yet ready. But don't abuse and imparare where to throw things.
And what about the fashion industry? Are you working, maybe we should do a collaboration with Marangoni, Istituto Marangoni, and say to them to encourage their students to design out plastic or change this
fashion,
life cycle
for
of fashion.
example. It's a shame I didn't put today, but there are so amazing, beautiful material made by recycle. The new yarn, new weight, durable, and why not to use them? There are far less problems, because fabrics are really a bigger problems of pollution, use of water, and blah, 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 blah. The cotton is terrible. I don't know much about it, but I know that with the new material, you can, so particularly fabulous weight. Think about new materials.
And you're talking about the problem of plastic getting into the ocean, but it doesn't only get into the ocean, does it? I read this morning that each human being eats one credit card
every
of plastic.
month. Do you prefer American or?
I like the black ones.
No, it's true. It's all over, unfortunately. Microplastic are really very dangerous. And what to do with it? Dresses, with the felpa, with Patagonia, and that is to wash it in a good way, to put into a bag, and then those pieces, those microplastic, to put in patumiera, and it will be burned, because we have to use a new technique to reduce and to avoid this problem. Unfortunately, everything is a problem. Huh? Yeah. We have to understand and to find a way to reduce the problems.
And final question before we ask the audience if they've got any questions. What you've just said brings us back to the whole name of the initiative, which is Guiltless Plastic. And we were talking about an Italian environmentalist who was on the jury with us, Cristina Gabetti.
Yeah.
And when you told her that you were going to call this initiative Guiltless Plastic, she said, no, Rossana, you cannot call it that, because plastic can never be guiltless.
Nightmare. Yes, because I said the guiltless plastic. And, I was really near to die because of American, but plastic is really guiltless. I'm super sure that is abuse and misuse. And people, we have to communicate, really, what we have to do. It's a sort of education. Everything is changing in the world. The society is going in another direction. There's a big evolution these ages. And this is part of the changement of the 2019. For next 2020, we have really to think and to change.
So you really believe that we can still have a planet and a civilization that has plastic in it and feel okay about it? Guiltless?
For sure. For sure, because there are some, plastic has got some characteristic which up to now nobody has found a new material. As I said, in the future for sure, but now we have. It's a reality.
So if we can't live without it, we just need to learn to love it and use it more responsibly.
Yeah. Love it, it depends by what it is, but we have to understand that when you say plastic free, it's a fake news. There are too many things which we use which are made in plastic. It's a reality.
Okay, thank you, Rossana. Do we have we have a microphone that'll be roving around the audience. Do we have a question? Okay, in the middle on the left over there.
Hi. My name's Sophie Thomas. I'm a designer, but I'm also a sort of activist. I work a lot in plastics. It's really great to hear about all of the work that you've been doing. And also the kind of challenge that we have as an industry where we use this material. The plastic is seen as something that is really bad, but actually it is the workhorse of the modern economy. It's in everything: clothes, airplanes, chairs, food packaging, everything. So to be plastic free is absolutely not going to happen. So my question is really about how do we step up from something that is an exhibition into something that becomes part of the mainstream work that we do as a designer. Because what gives me great hope about your campaign is the network, the piece that is about the collaboration, the passing on of knowledge. Because we know from the work that we do in plastic that we're coming up to a perfect storm. We have a massive expansion of new plastic manufacturing happening in America, a huge amount of investment going into the primary place. We have China and Malaysia closing their doors for taking our recycling plastics. We have a market in Europe which doesn't really like plastic waste. So yes, it's about creating awareness and desire to use plastic, but we also have to think about how it's used in the first place. So if, say, 67% of our plastic is packaging, plastic waste is packaging at the moment, I think it was very telling that actually you couldn't find a winner for your plastic packaging prize. So the question is, how do you see it building so that we all understand and all really take on this vision of yours?
By the way, Sophie is one of Europe's leading experts in plastic. You may have guessed that from the... Hi, Sophie. How are you going to respond to that, Rossana? I guess the question in essence is, how do we take this initiative and expand it, scale it up so it makes a global difference? Is that a fair summary of your question?
No, ma lei cosa... Lei è la produttrice di secche? First of all, I haven't understood all of what you have said, but first of all, I would like you to join our platform and work with us, because
I think maybe that's the answer. I think the answer is you have to come on board with the initiative and help steer it. Yeah? Deal?
Exactly. It's what I want. Everybody who has got knowledge or wants to, please join the platform. It's the best.
So there we are. We're introducing people and making friends today. So Rossana meets Sophie after the talk. Another question? Do we have another question?
Hi, I'm Sue Wilkinson. I'm a designer. I've been speaking with Sophie on the phone, but we haven't met. We talk about our responsibilities as designers and the fact that you're doing a network where people can collaborate and share information. As a designer of packaging recently, the thing that I've struggled with is the ethics of bringing something to reality and not being able to use recyclable plastic. I'm using a plastic that's fully recyclable in its second and third lifespan, but manufacturing isn't set up for me to produce packaging, a design for a packaging for a hair product, because the manufacturing system isn't set up to be able to produce something that's good enough for mass produce. So whilst you can make these interesting furniture products and you can recycle fabrics and turn them into something that have a second and third lifespan, it's very difficult to bring something to life in factories that aren't set up to work with a product that's being recycled, that's going into its second life, that's going into mass production. Also, what we've discovered is that biodegradable materials aren't able to be recycled. So there's a sort of misinterpretation of using, say, a biodegradable material in the first place, because recycling plants aren't set up to be able to recycle them afterwards, so they do become landfill, and sometimes are worse than other plastics because they emit microtoxins. So there is a massive problem in manufacturing and recycling, and I think as designers we should be massively putting pressure on the government to address that. And I think that collectively there should be a momentum to lobby governments to do that.
So if you don't mind, I think we should leave that as a statement rather than a question. But Rossana, I think you found another member of your jury for 2020, because Sue is another...
Guiltlessplastic.com.
I'd like to ask a question to Mevin, actually. Mevin, we were talking just now about, you know, the fact that it's quite easy to deal with recycled plastic when you're making a chair, something that lasts 50 years. But what about fashion? With your students, do you encourage them to use materials responsibly? I mean, the fashion by its nature is fast turnover. People change their clothes every season. How do you deal with that as at a fashion school?
Very interestingly enough, our program leaders here in fashion design are very passionate about sustainability. So, for example, our MA collections this year, we had 2 students from Indonesia who created a zero waste collection and transformable clothing, so dresses that can turn into skirts and things like this. So we really push them every day. And I know we have Michelle here in the room, who is a sustainable jewelry designer, and she teaches on the course here. So we really every day in the classes make students think sustainability and you know, being creative in the use of materials and you know, just trying to also make it usable, because a lot of times I think sustainability is interesting, but as we can see here, a lot of these objects are very beautiful, but also usable and practical. So we try and make it not just in terms of a concept, but practicality.
Thank you, Mevin. Do we have time? We have time for just one more question. Do we have one more question from the audience? Or statement, if someone would like to state their position on this very complex issue?
Mine's not a statement, mine is a question. So what designers, brands are doing is amazing at the moment. We are trying to change. My question is more, how do we make it more affordable? Because I think it'll only make a big impact when the average person can actually buy things that are more affordable. So these lovely things around us that we see are fantastic, but they do have a price point. So your average person that will go into a supermarket, how can we make it more affordable for them?
Is that a question for me or Rossana?
Both, either.
It's an interesting point, actually. The question is, this refers back to what we were saying about, can plastic be considered precious? These objects are very, very expensive. In order to change the whole way that plastic is used and recycled, we need to get recycled objects into supermarkets.
Yeah,
you need to buy tomatoes in a recycled plastic package. How is that achievable? How can we overcome first of all, people's resistance to recycled plastic being cheap, and you said dirty and smelly, for example, and actually make products for ordinary people rather than people who can afford expensive furniture?
But I think that the big distribution, for example, IKEA has done a big project about recycled plastic, and as much as we use, the price will be reduced. In Italy, for example, Esselunga will do a lot of items with recycled plastic. For example, the small toys they give as a present if you buy bam, 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 it's in recycled plastic. The bag will be in recycled plastic. I think the only way to reduce the price is big production. As much as we produce, less will be the prices. And yeah, it's important to understand that for the moment it's one of my ideas, maybe it's not correct, but okay, this costs 20 cents more or 50 cents more, okay, but it's recycled plastic, okay, we save the planet, so we use that to increase the production, and for sure the price will be reduced. This, for example, one of the points which makes me crazy are the moquette. In the showroom, in Maison Objet, in the big fair, they use an enormous quantity of moquette. the moquette is not recyclable. And you know...
Carpet, you mean the carpet?
The carpet, yes, the carpet. And you know what's happened of the carpet, of how many square meters? A little part will be burned, and the other one will be put under the ground in Polonia. Can you imagine? It's crazy. So people are studying the way of do recyclable moquette, because it's a destroy the planet. It's a desertification, because there are many problems with this desertification. And look, we have to do a lot, and industry, they have really to think about. In America, they find a carpet which is 100% recyclable, not yet in Europe. But factories have really to be green in a very good way, not just to put green plants out of the factory, but to think of a new way of production. The government, of course, has to need with the money, because everything is expensive. But we need to push, to promote, to communicate, because communication at this point, I think, is very important.
I'd like to add that I think the media has a huge responsibility in clarifying. There's so much confusion about terms like biodegradable, bioplastic, what it even means, recycling, upcycling, downcycling. It's really confusing. And as to your point about trade show carpets, I completely agree with you that people tend to fall for false flags. They'll get really obsessed about plastic straws or lanyards at conferences and forget that the entire floor of the conference of the trade show is covered in a centimetre thick of plastic that's just going to be landfilled at the end of it. It's very easy to get distracted and focus on small gestures that don't actually make much difference in the long run. We're out of time, I'm afraid, everybody. I think there's a discussion to happen straight after the talk. But meanwhile, thank you so much, Rossana. Thank you so much to the Istituto. Mevin, thank you very much for having us.
Thank you for this very interesting conversation. As I mentioned before, we have a conversation tomorrow at the Saatchi Gallery at 12 o'clock, where we will be discussing Italian manufacturing and education and design. But for now, if I may invite you all to continue the conversation at the reception area with some drinks and canapes. And thank you so much for coming.
And thank you. I forgot to thank the audience. Thank you very much.